everybody, welcome to the Philly Sports Convo. This is my podcast where I get to talk to the biggest names in Philly sports, and my guest today is one of the hardest working guys out there. He's got the Farzy Show weekday mornings, the Jacob Media Eagles pregame show, the Phillies postgame show. He does so much I lose track. And greatest sports legends then and now. It is a pleasure to welcome back Marc Farzetta. Marc, good to see you, my friend. Did I forget anything? You do so much. What did I miss?
Let's see. Saturday nights, I park cars at Ritz-Carlton. Thursday nights, I'm at the Acme in one of the Acme Delcos. I'm around there just hanging around. And let's see. So Friday nights, I chaperone dances. That's the other three jobs that I have. So those are the other things. Other than that, you got it all.
See, I love that. Actually, no, I missed. Are you still doing PA from the Wings?
I am still doing yes, I am looking forward to what will be my third season with the Philadelphia Wings this upcoming Wings season. Yes, there's nothing like a Wings game. Come on out. No bad seats in the house.
Those games get pretty intense, I hear.
Oh, I describe it as, because a lot of us didn't grow up playing lacrosse, but people are big sports fans. I always describe it as rock and roll hockey. Like, that's the best way I can describe it to people. And it is an absolute party. They got the party zone behind the net as well. It's a great time for all of Philadelphia to come out and have themselves a great time.
And you get to hear Marc Farzetta, which is cool.
Bonus.
James Harden. As we record this, it's just after he gets traded to the Clippers. Good riddance?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely good riddance. I am so glad it's over, and I'm so glad that this creates a whole bunch of room for Tyrese Maxey to grow.
Yep.
The best acquisition, everything that was said that the Sixers got in return, whether it's the $50 to $65 million in cap space going into next free agency period, if the Sixers stay where they are right now, getting a guy back in Philadelphia like Marcus Morris, who of course has that chip on his shoulder, has that grit, of course, here in Philadelphia, and everyone loves that about him. Adding to the bench with a guy like KJ Martin, of course, when you already have a guy coming off the bench like Kelly Oubre, all that stuff is great. But the thing the picks, of course, how do you leave out the first round picks? That's great. Second round picks, that's great too. But the best part about this, that's not listed in terms of acquisitions, is the room you acquired for Tyrese Maxey to grow. Because I said before the season, here's my checklist for my top 5 things I want to see from this year. And 2 of them, I think, have either happened or they're well on their way. Mm-hmm. 1 is that James Harden was traded. It's the most obvious one that could be on that list. And then 2 is that Tyrese Maxey grows into an all-star. Here we are a week into the season, and Tyrese Maxey has already become the Eastern Conference Player of the Week. So He's off to a great start, shooting 58% from beyond the arc. He's off to a great start, averaging 32 points a game. He's well on his way to becoming an all-star. If those things take place in this season, then I'll look back on this season at the end of the year and said they gave us some great things. Hopefully they make it out of the second round. I still don't think they do, but they have something to build on for the future.
Unfortunately, I agree with that. I still don't think they do either. But this is why the Farzy Show is so good. This is just a small example of what people get every morning. And it's YouTube. How can people get that?
YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook Live, all that good stuff. Clips on the old Instagram as well. Yeah, that's where people can consume the content, my friend.
Now, I thought of you earlier today. We were talking off the air. You mentioned you went to Archbishop Wood High School in Warminster. Do you remember the restaurant right next to Wood?
Oh, don't. Oh, just bringing up a slew of things to depress me.
So you heard about this?
How do I not hear about it? I mean, Perkins.
Perkins.
All right, top 3 people to feed me in high school. My mom, my Aunt Angie, and Perkins, okay? Even more so than Archbishop Wood's cafeteria itself. Every high school dance, you had the soft hop, the freshman formal, everything. You mosey on over to Perkins. They look at you. They see the riffraff coming in from Archbishop Wood. They roll their eyes because I know they're not getting a big tip, even though I made sure I gave a big tip. I know how to tip.
You're a good
Joe
man.
Farzetta, my dad, a great example. But they always happy to see me walk in there, but as far as it's not so much. But yeah, it's heartbreaking.
I'm with you.
Machine in the yeah, it's ridiculous. I'm heartbroken that Perkins is closed in Warminster.
So I grew up in this area. I still live. I just live down the road from Warminster in Warwick Township. I grew up down the road from Warminster the other way in Southampton. So when I'm like 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, in the summertime, my buddies and I would literally go to Perkins every single night. I had 4 meals a day, Marc. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and Perkins, which kind of explains a lot. Well, do you remember what your go-to was? For me, it was the Supreme Burger. It was a cheeseburger with bacon and barbecue sauce.
That was a big one. I was a big fan of their milkshakes. Those were, they had a really good vanilla bean milkshake that was top notch. The burger was a solid one, and then the pancakes, if you decided to go breakfast for dinner, which was on occasion on a tight budget, that was the way to do it. So
love breakfast for dinner.
Their 5-stack pancakes with a side of bacon. Oh, oof.
And it just happened sudden. If you read articles about it, they served breakfast in the morning, and then boom, by lunchtime it was closed. It just like that. I mean,
and then grilled cheese. How dare I forget? They had a grilled cheese sandwich that was perfection.
I thought that place would be there forever. All right, I want to talk about your career. You've done so much in broadcasting. A lot of us who get into this business, Marc, I don't know if it was this way with you. It was this way with me. I knew I wanted to be a broadcaster pretty much from the time I could talk. Was it the same for you?
Yes, I would definitely make the tapes as a kid of either real baseball games or make-believe baseball games where I just wanted to hear my voice on the recorder. But for me, that was always just fun. I never thought about it as a career. This is going to sound so lame, but I never thought about it as a career until I was like 11. I know that's not exactly late in the game, but
still pretty early.
I feel like when you're a kid and you're around 10 or 11, I don't know how it is for the ladies, for the girls and stuff, but for the boys, I feel like we look around the roster of any team we're on, baseball, basketball, whatever the case may be, and we go, all right, that kid's a lot better than me. That kid's a lot better than me. I'm like the 7th best player on this. I'm not going to be the center for the for the 76ers. Maybe I'm not going to be the catcher for the Philadelphia Phillies. Maybe that's not going to work out to my play. But I knew I loved sports. I knew I loved being around it. I knew I loved talking about it.
Yeah.
I never wanted a real job. I do not have the attention span for a 9-to-5. I've tried. It was not good. So I knew I always wanted to be around the game, and I always loved to perform. So it felt like the best possible thing. There was other careers that I thought about, but for me, it was just no. I wanted to get paid to talk about sports into a microphone, and it's worked out. It's been such an awesome, fun ride, man. I'm proud to say I'm still able to do it.
It is more than worked out. And I remember your early days at WIP, and I don't know if you remember this story. I think it was your very first update shift. So I was doing updates every Saturday night. You were producing. Actually, let me get to this first. One of the things that really impressed me about you, I'm there doing updates on weekends. And I occasionally I would fill in during the week. They had an update shift from 11 a.m. to like 7 p.m., I guess. So you're on during the midday show. You're on during Howard Eskin's afternoon show. You produced for Eskin at the time, but you also worked with the morning show. So I'm talking to you in the hall one day, and I said, I commented about how long your day was. Like, how do you do it? You wake up in the middle of the night to work with the morning show, but then you're back here in the afternoon, work until 7 o'clock at night. That's a long day. And you said to me, and I'm paraphrasing, but you said, yeah, I wake up in the morning, I work with Angelo and the morning team, I go on, I have a great lunch in South Philly, I come back and I work with Howard Eskin, and I said it's a long day, and you said to me, yeah, but it's a great day. And I never forgot that. But because Marc, that in a nutshell encapsulates your work ethic.
That is so funny that you remember that I would go to lunch on 9th Street. I would hit one of the sandwich shops on 9th Street, and I'd grab a nice lunch. I would often go back and pass out in my car for like an hour in the in the lowest level of the parking lot at Two Bala Plaza in Bala Cynwyd.
It was covered.
Yeah, It was covered.
Yeah.
It was covered. It was the third. It was like in the basement level of Two Bala Plaza. And I would sleep in my car for like an hour. Literally, I had a Honda Civic where the seats folded down so that you could lay your head in the trunk and put your feet over the back seat.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's amazing.
That was a bed. I had a blanket. I had a pillow. I set my alarm on my flip phone. And I do remember that conversation. And yes, I would, between shows, a lot of times go down 9th Street, get a sandwich. I'd come back, pass out, and go do Howard Eskin's show. And one thing I remember about you is you were the first update person I ever saw wear a button-down shirt. God bless you. Everyone else in the T-shirt and the jeans, you came in your Sunday best, baby. ready to crank out some updates.
Well, you know what? The button-down shirt was one of the few looks that actually looked good on me back then. So that's why I would wear it all the time. No, but the story I wanted to tell you.
Gotcha.
So I believe this was either your first or second update shift. So I did updates every Saturday night, 6 to midnight. And I think you may have actually been filling in for me because I couldn't work. And back in the day, it's not like now where you read a computer screen. We would print out our script, like a hard copy, like paper. We print out paper, walk into the little update booth, and read it on the air. And you called me up and said that the printer wasn't working in the newsroom. Do you remember that?
I do. I blacked out for most of my first couple update shifts, but I do remember that because I remember one or the other. It was either my first or second. I called you. The other I had to call Steve Trevelise. Trev had to call him. It was like one of those situations of Murphy's Law. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. The printer was out of ink. The copier, because you had to make a packet for Big Daddy Graham. That ran out of like toner on me a couple times.
Right. Okay.
It was all this stupid like office stuff. And then like I would go to fire a clip and either the wrong clip was in there or I hit the wrong button. It was because there was a thing back in the day, Jason, if you remember this, I'm sure you do. There was the beginning where it had the song. It was like, it was, it was news like, update song.
It was like, da, 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 right?
Exactly. Oh man, that just heart palpitations. All right. So then I would talk. Or then you talk, and then you would hit a clip. But sometimes, if you had more than one clip, like a soundbite of like Andy Reid talking or whatever, you would hit the button, and then sometimes it would trigger the outro, the
jingle,
8-second jingle that takes you to commercial.
Yes.
And it would be like, I'd be like, and Andy Reid said he was upset, and then it would cut to Andy Reid said WIP, and I'm like, no, I wasn't done. I didn't even do the weather yet.
That happened to me. That happened to me so many times.
Exactly. It was like, why do you have to just separate the buttons? But yeah, no, I remember calling you and you were so cool. And you're like, Mark, I don't know where they keep the ink. I think it's in this thing. Go check that thing. And I checked the thing and it was there. So I think I was able to eventually figure it out.
You know what I remember about that? So you call me and I wasn't really much help whatsoever. I hang up and I said to my wife, I'm like, okay. Oh my God, I feel so bad for that guy. It's his first shift and nothing's going right. but look at you now, man. Look at you now. I mean, you radio, television, podcasting. You've come a long way, my friend. Deservedly so, may I add.
Thank you. Well, it's funny to go. The thing about being a great day, I love my family. They're incredible. My grandfather in World War II, his ship was torpedoed by the Japanese in the Pacific Ocean, right?
Okay.
Like, he would bring that up as we were kids growing up. I got a lot of cousins and stuff, and huge family, and he would bring that up. So it was like if he gave me anything in life, it was a perspective. It was I value the perspective my grandmother and grandfather gave me and my cousins and my brother and everybody. Just because it was like, dude, you just spent a day working in radio, which is what you always wanted to do. You spend a day talking about sports, which is what you always wanted to do. That perspective I hope stays with me till it's all over for me. That's the only way to look at it. And I don't feel like enough people think about perspective. It's the old quote, was it Teddy Roosevelt? Comparison is the thief of joy. For me, I think that is a very important thing. And in this day and age with so much social media, if you're happy, you're happy. If you're enjoying it, you're enjoying it. If you're doing what you love to do, then you should be happy. So for me, it was a great day. It's still great days, and I'm blessed to have a lot of great days. Well,
I always gave you credit because, yeah, it's a great day, but it's a long day. And listen, you and I are still doing long days here all these years later. But you're right, and I tell my kids this all the time. As corny as it sounds, if you find something you love, if you can get paid for your passion, you're not working. And that's what we've been doing. I mean, we've been very lucky.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, brother. Absolutely.
I want to ask you about something else. For a long time, you worked on the crew of Sunday Night Football on NBC, and I'm curious: do you have one or two good John Madden stories you can share? Because you worked with him, right? Because it was Al Michaels and John Madden originally, right? I mean, the guy's a legend.
Yeah.
Give me a Madden story or two.
My first season traveling with Sunday Night Football was John Madden's last. And he had this thing called, he had the horse trailer. This is back when he had the horse trailer player of the game. So long story short, I end up being the horse trailer guy. Now I had a job during the game. So I had a job during the game working with the replay team where basically I held together packages where all I had to do was watch the game, log the game, and then the replay producer would say, Mark, give me the best 5 dynasty plays where Donovan escaped from the pocket. And I'd write it down. I'd write down the time codes for it, and I'd hand it to them, and then they'd take my numbers and what I determined to be his best plays, and they'd take like the 3 best ones and use it in a highlight package. So then after the game, I'd have to scurry out to the horse trailer, and I'd have to go through it was like 120 names, 120 photos, because one of those guys was going to be the horse trailer player of the game. And it was all John Madden's thing, and I'd have John Madden in my headset, and I would have to run out to the trailer, go through the things, and John Madden would say something like, "Oh, I think Donovan McNabb is the horse trailer player of the game," and I have to fumble through it, find Donovan McNabb, go up, and then tape it, and then put it on the side of the trailer. So anyway, I did this for the whole season, and I thought, what a great way to get in with John Madden. This is going to be awesome. So I don't meet him. I never met him. I was in his presence, but I never met him until the Super Bowl.
Okay.
And at the Super Bowl, which was the Santonio Holmes corner of the end zone touchdown, Steelers Cardinals in Tampa.
Okay.
I see John Madden and Al Michaels, and I think they were smoking cigars in the back of the office truck, whatever. So I go up, and just as I'm going up, John Madden walks away, but Al Michaels is right there. And I'm like, I always wanted to meet Al Michaels. So I put my hand out. I say, "Hey, I'm Mr. Michaels. I'm Marc Farzetta. I work on the crew, whatever." And he's like, "Oh, Mark, nice to meet you. Where are you from?" And I'm like, "Philadelphia." He's like, "Oh, Philadelphia. Great sports fans in Philadelphia." I was like, "I know, man. I'm Mr. Michaels, whatever." And I'm just amazed that he's like engaging me in conversation. He was
That's
so
cool.
And I'm like, this is so great. Oh, too bad I didn't get to meet John Madden. So I go to the catering truck, and I'm walking in, or the catering tent, and I walk in through the flap, and just as I'm walking in, John Madden flips the flap out of the way and almost runs right into me. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, "Oh my God, John Madden!" And I go, I was cool. I was like, "Oh, hey, Mr. Madden." And I'm thinking I just had this great experience with Al Michaels. I want to have that same experience with John Madden. And I go, "Hey, Coach." Everyone calls him Coach. Everyone called him Coach. I say, "Hey, Coach, I'm Marc Farzetta. I've been your horse trailer guy all season long." And I'll never forget that John Madden looks right at me and just goes, and just walks right by me. Doesn't say, there's no engagement.
Say that again. He what?
John Madden walks right and he goes, I go, "Mr. Madden, hi, I'm Marc Farzetta." And he goes, and just walks right by me. Jason, you and I both have a friend named Ray Didinger.
Yes. Well,
Ray.
You know Ray a lot better than I do, but go ahead.
Ray has more football stories potentially with anybody on earth, than anybody on earth. When Ray and I are in the same room, 9 times out of 10, Ray will team me up to tell that story of John Madden totally blowing me off at the Super Bowl.
That's a great story, man.
And then he never did another game after that. I never got a chance to meet him. After that, I got to know Al Michaels. I was on the crew for 11 years.
That's cool.
Al was great. Al would always talk hockey with me, and he'd be like, "Hey, what's the deal with Claude Giroux?" And I'd be like, "I don't know, whatever." Yeah. But he
That's
always
cool.
loved talking hockey. Great guy.
So Michaels is a down to earth guy then.
Al Michaels is the man. I absolutely love that guy. And whenever you saw him out and about around the crew, I bumped into him once at the shops at Liberty Place in Philly.
Okay.
Ahead of I think it was a Christmas game that we were doing in Philly. And I bumped into him, and he stopped and just said, "Oh, hey, what's going on? It's nice to see you in your city."
So he remembered you. That's cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. No, he honestly one of the best guys you can work for. A lot of guys on that crew, just absolutely fantastic.
I admire your ability to kind of keep your cool when you meet guys like that, because you reminded me of a funny story. 1997, I want to say. I'm on a date with the woman who would eventually become my wife. Okay, we're at Caesars in Atlantic City, going up an escalator. Who's coming down the other way? Harry Callis. And I had never met Harry at that point. Yeah, I was already in radio, but I never met Harry. I did meet him a few times after that, as you did, and he was just an amazing guy. But this is the guy I grew up idolizing, and I just lost it. I'm like, "Harry Callis, hey!" And he was so cool. He's like, "Hey, buddy." I mean, he was so cool, but I forget about the fact I'm trying to impress this girl here, and I lost. I don't know why she decided to go out with me again, but I totally lost it. But he was the nicest guy. But it's like I forgot where I was for a second, and I reverted back to that little kid watching Phillies games who wanted to be an announcer when I grew up.
Oh, that's awesome. That is so cool, man. It's funny you mentioned him because he is one of two people that I was absolutely starstruck.
Yeah.
He was one of them. And he was so cool, and similar experience where I just didn't know what to say, that type of thing, because it's Harry Cowles, right? And then the other one was FBI Special Agent Joe Pistone, also known as Donnie Brasco.
Okay.
When I met him, that was the only two people that I was ever really starstruck by were those two. Because I remember I went up to Joe Pistone. He was at the studio one time, and I was like, Mr. Pistone, it's an honor to meet you, sir. I appreciate all you've done and all that stuff. Would you mind if I got a picture with you? And he goes, no pictures. Just like that. I was like, I guess that makes sense. I guess probably no pictures is probably a good way for you to go. Yeah.
It's funny. We're lucky enough that we've gotten to talk to a lot of, celebrities, athletes. So we don't really get starstruck. But the one time I got starstruck, I'm walking, it was 96, the year the All-Star game was in Philly, okay? The baseball All-Star game. And they had a fan fest at the convention center. And as I'm walking out of the fan fest, walking right by me is Steve Carlton. And I just stood there motionless. And, and listen, I mean, I was a big Carlton fan, of course. I don't know, he just had this overwhelming presence. I'm like, oh my God, that's Steve Carlton. And I literally just stood there motionless, and he just walked right by me. So I didn't even say hi to the guy.
You froze, Jason.
Real quick, I want to ask you one more thing about NBC, because I don't know if you know this about me, but I grew up idolizing Bob Costas. You got to work with Bob Costas. Tell me what it was like working with him. Is he a good guy? Can you get him on my podcast?
I love Bob. Bob was so good to me, is so good to me. We still have a texting relationship. I bumped into him at a Sixers game maybe 3 years ago. And he was with his son Keith and came over. We just started chatting and catching up. And I think I was off the crew for about 3 years since then. So it was great just to catch up with him. We still text every once in a while, usually on Father's Day.
That's awesome.
And yeah. And I grew up, my brother, to put it in perspective, my brother, he knew I loved broadcasting. And I think it was maybe freshman year of high school. I forget how old, maybe 15, whatever I was. He gave me a CD. Okay.
Bob
Costas doing a CD of Bob Costas doing a narration of the Miracle on Ice 1980. So it was Bob Costas and Al Michaels. On the
wow.
same CD.
That's a perfect gift for you.
So, oh my goodness. So exactly. So then Bob's doing the narration and setting it up, and then it would kick to a highlight of Al Michaels talking about, doing a play-by-play of the game. So I would listen to that constantly. So that was Bob Costas to me. I also loved Bob Costas in the critically acclaimed movie Basketball.
Yeah.
And
you remember his famous line, right?
I know Bob through. Oh, I had him say that line on WIP, and he gave me the backstory to it.
I love it.
It's great. It's great. And getting to know him and work with him, here's what I can say about him. He is phenomenally talented. He has, as everyone knows, he has an incredible memory. He doesn't claim that it's, what do you call it? Photographic memory.
Yeah.
But the guy can the guy can look at a stat, a sheet of stats, and then during a game just start popping them out, just one after the other, just remembering this guy's batting average with runners in scoring position and 2 outs, stuff like that. So
and listen,
he's great.
Since I brought it up, I guess I have to mention the line. I was hoping you would mention it, but so it was him and Al Michaels in the booth, right? And Al Michaels says, "I'm so excited," and he says, "You're excited? Feel these nipples," right? That's what it was, right?
You're excited. Feel these nipples.
There you go.
Yes.
See, you said it much better than I did. All right.
Well, I'll give you the thing real quick. The story that Bob told me about that line is that the South Park creators said to him, who did the movie, they said, "Bob, just say the line, and if we don't like it, we won't use it." So Bob tells me the story that he did several takes of saying that line. And two things happened. One, not only did they use it, they used it in the trailer. In the
trailer, yep.
And then not only did they use it, they used the wrong take. According to Bob.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
According to Bob, there's a better take of him saying it out there that we've never seen, but he says they used the wrong take. So
all right.
Take that for what you will. I
want to give you a quick Bob Costas story. My producer's rapping me, so I'm going to make this real quick. So
okay.
I'm 13. I could talk to you all night, Mark. I'm telling you. I'm 13 years old. My best friend, guy I've been friends with since I was 3 years old, and I just turned 50, okay? My best friend, Frank, his parents took us to a Phillies-Pirates game, and it was a Saturday. It was the NBC Game of the Week. Bob Costas and Tony Kubek are doing the game. And they always like to get there early and go down front, during batting practice. So I'm standing like right on the edge, like where the box seats were at the vet, and I see Bob Costas walking across the field. And even back then, I knew I wanted to be, as I said back then, I wanted to be an announcer. So I'm like, Bob Costas, hey, Bob, you're a great announcer. And that's exactly what I said. He walks towards us, and I see him reach into his sport jacket pocket. He takes out a pen, and he tosses the pen. Now, my friend Frank is a lot taller than me. Most people are. So he reaches, and he gets the pen. And I'm like, that was for me. He's like, no, that was for... No, he threw that to us. Long story short, he lost the pen, and I never got the pen. So... Bob, if you talk to Bob, ask him to send me another pen, okay?
I will. This is from the desk of Bob Costas.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
All right.
One thing I will say about him, and people don't know this, he's always an announcer. He never stops with the Bob. Like, I don't know what you would call it. Like, what do you call it in Shakespeare? Like the Shakespearean pentameter, like the beat and the rhythm of how a Shakespeare play is spoken.
Yeah.
Bob Costas is always in this rhythm. Like, he is always,
you're right.
That's just how he talks, man. It's the funniest thing to hear him talk about the weather is still one of the funniest things I can ever remember. To hear Al Michaels order a meal at a restaurant is one of the things I will never forget in my entire life. Just hearing those voices.
Isn't it funny?
Do the mundane things that we do. Yeah.
It's the little things, but then it's like you look back and it's like, wow. It's been pretty cool. My life does not suck. It's been great. It's been good. All right, I can't let you go, Mark. You know what I'm going to ask you. I love your Frank Sinatra impression. I need you to do a quick Frank Sinatra impression before we wrap up. Give me, I don't know, pick a song and give me like a couple lines.
You know what's funny? My daughter is now 4 years old, and without any pressuring from me, I merely introduced her. And she ignored it for months, and then out of nowhere just asked to hear it. And one of her favorite songs, Wouldn't You Know It, is Come Fly With Me.
All right,
by
go
Frank
for
Sinatra. And it's such a beautiful song, and I'll try my best.
I got like a minute
fly
left.
With Me, let's... Go
ahead.
All right, okay. I don't know enough words for Come Fly With Me then. Fly me to the moon. Let me sing among those stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars.
This is fantastic.
In other words, hold my hand.
I feel like I wish the late, great Sid Mark would walk in right now because that was so good.
Oh.
Mark, listen, and I'm going to wrap it up in Sinatra way and say, you know what? You've been doing it your way, and I respect you. I admire you. And I can't thank you enough for doing this today, man. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it, my friend. And listen, we got a lot more to talk about, so I got to have you back on, okay?
It would be my pleasure, Jason. Appreciate your friendship. Appreciate your always your talent and your professionalism.
Back at you, buddy.
Per usual, my friend. Thanks.
All right, Mark. Thank you. And thank you for watching episode 2 of the Philly Sports Convo. We'll see you next time. Stay connected with us on social media. Join our Discord community and grab merch from our shop. The Philly Sports Convo is a Blue Eye Visual production.